What's up YouTube, it's VyPr Sports here, and today I'm going to be doing my first mock draft for the 2018 NBA Draft. The draft is in a little over 3 weeks now, so I decided to do a mock draft for the first 10 picks of this year's draft. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm projecting with the first pick in the 2018 NBA Draft, the Phoenix Suns will select DeAndre Eden, the center from Arizona. Now DeAndre Eden's biggest upside is his offensive ability. He has a pretty good three-point shot and overall is a great offensive player. A lot of people think that he's going to be the first or second pick. It's really between him and Luca Doncic, who I'll get to a little later, of course. Eden's biggest downside, though, is his defense. He isn't the best defensive player, especially for someone who's 7 feet tall playing center, and I definitely think that that's the biggest part of his game that he can improve. So, why would the Suns select him with the #1 pick? First of all, he's a hometown guy. He's from Arizona. He went to Arizona. DeAndre Eden is really a position need. Center is the biggest problem that the Phoenix Suns have. They could always re-sign Elfrid Payton or get a guy like Fred VanVleet in free agency, but a guy like DeAndre Eden isn't really going to come around that often, and especially with a front court that includes Marquise Chris, Dragon Bender, Alex Len, and Tyson Chandler, they're going to need someone better, and I definitely think that DeAndre Eden can take that role. So with the second pick in the 2018 NBA Draft, I'm projecting the Sacramento Kings to select Real Madrid shooting guard Luca Doncic. Now Luca Doncic's biggest upside is he's a very crafty player. He has a great shot and he really lets things just happen with the ball. He doesn't force anything, he just lets the game flow. Now this also leads into his biggest weakness. He isn't the quickest player, he isn't the best defensive player, and he is an international player, meaning you have that risk with him coming internationally. A lot of international players in the past have been considered more in the bust range. Guys like Darko Milicic, Andrea Bargnani definitely fit into that category. And while a lot of people are saying that Doncic will be the best European talent, I'm not 100% bought into that yet. So I definitely think Sacramento would be taking him solely because he is the best player on the board and because of his potential. Now with the third pick in the 2018 NBA Draft, I'm projecting the Atlanta Hawks to select Marvin Bagley, power forward from Duke. Now, Marvin Bagley's biggest upside is his athleticism. He has great hustle, and he seems very guard-esque, especially on the fast break. For someone who plays power forward, this is a very good thing in the modern NBA. The biggest downside is he only finishes really with his left hand. He needs to work on a right-handed finish. And if he does this, I think he could be a pretty good player in the NBA. He seems very NBA ready, and he fits a positional need for the Hawks. They need a power forward. To me, that's the position they need the most. So I definitely think that Marvin Bagley would be a good pick for the Atlanta Hawks, especially given the situation that they're in. Now with the fourth pick, I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Memphis Grizzlies will draft Mikal Porter Jr., small forward from Missouri. Porter's biggest upside is he is a 6'11" small forward with a great shot. However, his biggest downside is the injury that he suffered in college. He only played 3 games this season in a very limited role, and this is really the main thing that is affecting his draft stock. Since he didn't play in college, the only thing that we have to go off of is his high school highlights, which are great, but seeing him in college is a very important thing, especially when you're considering being drafted into the NBA. So why would he be drafted? He's a positional need. I think small forward is a position that the Grizzlies really need to address. They have the point guard in Mike Conley. The only way I'd see them drafting a point guard is if his injury is a lot worse than we're all led to believe. They already have a great center in Marc Gasol. Tyreke Evans is playing pretty well in Memphis. Mikal Porter Jr. is a pick solely based on potential. He's not being drafted because of what he did in college. He's being drafted because of what he did in high school and what he could do in the NBA. The Grizzlies normally wouldn't be in this type of position, so I think they'll take the risk here and draft Mikal Porter Jr. Now with the 5th pick in the 2018 NBA Draft, I'm projecting the Dallas Mavericks to select Jaren Jackson Jr., power forward from Michigan State. Now Jackson has some pretty good upsides. He's a great three-point shooter, especially for a 6'11" guy, and he is great on the defensive side of the ball. However, his downsides include that he averaged 3.2 fouls per game in college, and this could definitely be exploited in the NBA. He also isn't the best player offensively, but I think being drafted to the Mavericks could really help with this, giving him the positional need since Dirk is getting old and Nerlens Noel isn't as great as we thought he would be. He could definitely fill a big role in the Dallas Mavericks since they already have a point guard in Dennis Smith, shooting guard in Wesley Matthews, and small forward in Harrison Barnes. Dirk could also definitely be a great mentor for Jaren Jackson. He isn't the best player offensively. Having one of the greatest power forwards of all time mentoring him for a year or so would really help him, in my opinion, and having Rick Carlisle as coach would also be a nice touch to this. So for these reasons, I think that the Dallas Mavericks are going to select Jaren Jackson Jr. with the 5th pick this year. So with the 6th pick in this year's NBA draft, I'm projecting the Orlando Magic to select Trey Young, point guard from Oklahoma. Now, Trey Young's biggest upside is his offense. He is great offensively. He led the nation in points per game this year, and overall is a great offensive player that the Magic could really use. Now, his biggest downside is his turnovers. In college, he averaged 5.2 turnovers per game, and opposing defenses in the NBA will feast on this. So, he really needs to fix that. If he can turn the ball over less, I think he could be a pretty good option for the Magic. He could definitely lead them to some more wins, not necessarily get them completely out of where they are right now, but he would definitely help. So, he'd be drafted there for a positional need, since they traded away Elfrid Payton in the middle of this season. He also is a great offensive player that the Magic could really use, and I think these reasons definitely would let him fit in the Orlando Magic. With the 7th pick in the 2018 NBA Draft, I'm projecting the Chicago Bulls to select Mohamed Bamba, center from Texas. Bamba's biggest upside is his physical attributes. He's 7 feet tall with nearly an 8-foot wingspan, and this allows him to be a monster on defense, primarily shot blocking. And his downside is really, he's not a direct need for Chicago. They already have Robin Lopez, Lauri Markkanen. It's not their biggest need, but since he's the best player available and an amazing player on defense, I think they could really use him, and that he would be a very good player in the Bulls organization. With the 8th pick in the 2018 NBA Draft, I'm projecting the Cleveland Cavaliers to select Mikal Bridges, small forward from Villanova. His biggest upsides are his hustle, his athleticism, and his great shooting. He was a great shooter at Villanova, and this can definitely translate over to the NBA, where he would be a great shooter there as well. Now, his biggest downside, though, is he is one of the older players in the draft class. He's almost 22, which, going up against guys who are 18, 19, well, it's not necessarily a problem. It's really the closest thing to a downside you can get with Mikal Bridges. He's pretty close to a perfect role player or even a starter on a lot of teams, and since the Cavs should be preparing for LeBron to leave, I don't know where he's going to go. I might make a video on that if you guys want to see that. I'm going to need a guy to take over his role at small forward, and I think Mikal Bridges is the perfect guy to do this. Whether LeBron stays and he can mentor Mikal Bridges, or he leaves and Bridges is left in a starting role, I think he would be a good fit with the Cleveland Cavaliers. With the 9th pick in the 2018 NBA Draft, I'm projecting the New York Knicks to select Wendell Carter Jr., power forward or center from Duke. His biggest upside, he is a very strong center who played very well alongside a great power forward in Marvin Bagley. I think putting him alongside Kristaps Porzingis would be a very interesting combination to see. Bagley and Porzingis are very different players, but still, this idea would be very nice. His biggest downside is his fouls and turnovers, not the best. But the idea of having him alongside Kristaps Porzingis is a great idea, and I don't think that the Knicks should really pass this up. And with the 10th pick in the 2018 NBA Draft, I'm projecting the Philadelphia 76ers to select Myles Bridges, small forward / power forward from Michigan State. His upside, he has a great shot and great physicality. He's built somewhat like a football player, in all honesty, and this is really going to translate well to the NBA, I think. Downside, his steals, offensive rebounds, not the best, but those are things that he could definitely improve on. So they would draft him because he's a young, physical player who would definitely fit in with their time frame, given the whole process. And if they don't get LeBron James in this offseason, which I think there's a possibility that they do and don't, he could definitely fill in a big role for the Sixers that they wouldn't have, and improve. Sixers can still re-sign some of their shooters and become a great team, even better than the team that they already are. So those are my projections for the top 10 picks of this year's NBA draft. If you guys want to see this turn into a weekly series, drop a like, comment your thoughts on my projections, comment your projections. I want to hear what you guys think, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. This has been VyPr Sports, and I will see you guys in the next video.